Your ears do not deceive you. You have just entered the Cryptid Creator Corner brought to you by your friends at Comic Book Yeti. So without further ado, let's get on to the interview.
Hey, Comics fam, short and sweet here. We have a Patreon, so if you want to help us keep the lights on and spread the good word, you can drop a small tithe in the offering plate at Cryptid Creator Corner Pod over there. Membership starts at $1 per month, and we've got some great extra footage from the podcast dropping soon over there. Link in the show notes, and thank you for your continued support.
Thanks for your donation.
Do you love sci-fi? Are you a horror fan? Maybe you prefer action or fantasy. 2000 AD has it all and should be on your radar. With a whole universe of characters from Judge Dredd and Strontium Dog to Rogue Trooper, Shakara Halo Jones, and many more, every weekly issue you get 5 action-packed thrills from incredible creators such as Garth Ennis, Rob Williams, Alex DeCampi, Dan Abnett, and so many others. Get a print subscription and it'll arrive to your door every week. And your first issue is free, or subscribe digitally. Get free back issues and download DRM-free copies of every issue for just $9 a month. That's 128 pages of incredible comics every month for less than $10. That's like a whole graphic novel's worth. All subscribers get amazing offers like discount vouchers and exclusive product offers. Head to 2000ad.com and click on subscribe now, or download the 2000AD app. And why wait? Start reading today. I'll put links in the show notes for you.
Hello, and welcome to Comic Book Yeti's Cryptid Creator Corner. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy Gasparo, and I'm very excited about today's guest because they were a former contributor to Comic Book Yeti, which is always exciting when we have someone who used to do reviews or interviews and is now making their own comics. But I think even when he was with Comic Book Yeti, he'd been making comics as well. But I'm very excited. He has a new comic out. Just came out as we record this on or it's actually I think just about to come out on June 17th.
That's right.
With Comixology Originals called Ill Vacation, and I'm very excited. I got a chance to look at an early copy of it. So please welcome to the podcast, Steve Thompson. Steve, how are you doing today?
Thank you very much for having me, Jimmy. Yeah, I'm great today. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Oh, well, thank you. No, I appreciate you coming on. Because I know that even when you were doing stuff with Comic Book Yeti, you were, still making comics, and so I was excited to hear that you had another one coming out. I got a chance to uh, read through it. You're working with artist Gonzalo Ruggieri, if I'm
That's right.
pronouncing that correctly, and Hassan Otsman El Ha is lettering. Yeah, I love the artwork in it. Looks very different than other comics I've seen on the market. And very weird, very weird comic in terms of Ill Vacation. And I just was all along for the ride on this one. So I'm excited for people to kind of dig into it and get a look at it. I think it's very different. It's very unique. So yeah, so thanks for coming on the podcast. And well, let's just jump right into it and talk about what's your pitch for Ill Vacation for listeners? How do you sum it up?
Okay, well, let me sum it up. First of all, I'll tell you the title was only ever a working title. And I had a load of other ones, like a list, as long as your arm, ready to send to Comixology and say, look, this is the working title, but here's what it could be called. Here's what it could be. And they
Right.
said, no, we'd like to keep it like this. We don't really know what it means. Therefore, we like it and we're intrigued and we'd like to keep it as Ill
Yeah.
Vacation. So that's the sort of genesis behind the name. Um, but the pitch for it is, what if you had 2 soldiers trapped on a tropical island during the Pacific conflict in the Second World War, and what they're fighting against is both themselves and sort of the enemy is war itself,
Right.
if you like. They they're on Easter Island. There's an American base on Easter Island. This is partially based on fact because I did my research and there was a US base on Easter Island slightly later than the dates in this, but the fact that they had a base there, they were monitoring nuclear tests, and they would have very strange radio blackouts instantly made me want to set it there because already in real life there was something very strange happening on that island.
Oh,
It
yeah,
became
sure.
quite a
So,
small.
yeah, so, for listeners that don't know, Easter Island is in, the South Pacific, I think, probably closest to, I guess, the West Coast of, what, South America? I thi yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
uh, but, Easter Island has had, like, mystery surrounding it for, like, for decades, if not longer from, when, I guess, European settlers first, landed there to bring news back of what Easter Island looked like. So, kind of a perfect setting for this story where we have these, 2 soldiers who encounter one, bizarre creation after another, and I mean, I what I really liked about, um getting to the end of it and kind of like the back matter and seeing a couple of pages of your script with like kind of notations as to the development of it because like to see how you describe some of these, some of the things in here and then how um uh they end up being drawn on the page. I just really like the imagination level seemed to be like off the charts in terms of you and Gonzalo working together. So yeah. Um, and I liked hearing that there were some other things that you wanted to try and, like, add in again, and, because some of the creatures in here are wild. Like, what do you think was your, like, biggest inspiration in terms of how you know, d put it in the script in terms of, like, what you wanted the characters to look like, and then kind of the synthesis between what was in the script and, like, Gonzalo sending you, like, creature character designs?
Well, when I finished writing the script, and I sent it to Gonzalo, I thought, "Is this gonna be of interest to you? Is this too out there? Is this sort of what do you think of this?" And he got back and he looked at some of the monster descriptions and he thought, "Yes, this is actually what I want to draw. This is fantastic." And I approached him anyway because I thought his style will be a perfect fit. So, um, I came up with all of these creations and sort of every single monster in there, or almost every single monster in there is kind of based on a real object. There's a very tall creature with one eye that's kind of meant to look like represent lighthouse. There's a creature that looks like an atom bomb that flies through the air.
Yeah.
Um, and I give these descriptions to Gonzalo, and he would, he'd never like question it. He'd never say, "This is too silly. We're not doing this." He would come back with sketches. He would improve on what I'd written. Um, we'd go back and forth on some of the details of it. He changed a few things. I might have a few notes, and we'd arrive at this sort of fantastic menagerie of creatures that
Mhm.
we could present that represent the sort of fractured psyches of our characters. They're popping up all over the place um, in weird, unexpected ways. Um, just as our main characters are really sort of losing it and losing their way and getting completely lost and not knowing what's going on, and we're just
Right.
throwing more of these things at them.
Yeah, I mean, I like, um how the story, plays out initially when these things first start happening. You really don't know as a reader, like, where are these things coming from? And, you find out I don't wanna spoil anything for listeners, like, you find out as it goes on kind of what the deal is, but you're right, as, like, all these different, like, characters and creatures are being thrown at them, like, you're kind of in it with them as a reader. Like, they are not sure what is happening. You are not sure exactly, like, what is happening to them, like, what is the source of all this stuff. And, as it's very fascinating, like, as it's revealed and as you kind of, like, dig into what is going on with them, um, you kinda take a step back and look at what has led up to the events of like, the present day. Yeah, I really liked the duck the duck man in a suit. Like, I just thought, I
Doesn't it?
it
Yeah.
both at times, both friendly looking and menacing. I just thought that came off, like, really well in terms of how it looked on the page, and how the characters, interacted with it. But, yeah, I just, I really liked it. I thought there was, like, a really, like, some of these characters are kinda, like, terrifying. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt there was, like, a real, uh the humor of it though, like there's kind of like an absurdity to what not only what they're seeing, but also kind of commenting on like war itself and what is happening here, that I very much appreciated and really enjoyed getting into it. Was that kind of difficult to find that balance for you in terms of, "Oh, I don't want it to be all just horror. I also am kind of being a little farcical with some of the stuff."
Yeah, I wanted the dialogue to be I'm glad you mentioned it, actually. I wanted dialogue to be humorous and kind of blackly comic, but,
Yeah.
I also wanted the dialogue to be really pulpy in places, like it's from some kind of 1930s thriller, like it's just slightly absurd, what people are saying, and I was trying to go for that. But you're right, as you go through the book, it's not immediately apparent what's going on, but as you go through the book, you see that there is a reason why this is happening, and something has happened to our characters that has caused this. Um, and I didn't wanna do anything for no reason. I didn't wanna be absurd for the sake of being absurd. I wanted there to be a reason behind this.
Right.
And, they are I mean, it's not a spoiler to say because it's part of marketing, but they were part of an experiment.
Yeah.
Um, the kind of thing, again, I did some research, the kind of thing you might have seen, or read about that happened in real life in wartime, experiments on soldiers, but we kind of exaggerated it and played with it and stretched it to like Dugman stretched it to an absurd level again, really just to sort of ramp up the thrills and the tension.
Yeah. Yeah. And I in terms of I found it you said you approached Gonzalo about working on this. I mean, I what I really liked in terms of the artwork, at one point they something happens in the story and it's referred to as like the maelstrom. And it really kind of perfect name for it as it ties into the art because like, Gonzalo's art is it's very swirly. It's very easy to get the characters and you are all like caught up in it. It really, doesn't look too much like any other comic out there, which I really like appreciated. But it's never murky. It's never that you can't, unless intentionally so. It's never like you can't tell like what is going on. But I thought like with the style of Gonzalo's art, calling one of the main things in here the maelstrom like really made like such sense. So I really enjoyed the artwork in it.
Yeah, I think it is fair to say, and this is a compliment to Gonzalo, I think it's fair to say that this will be a completely different book if it was done by a different artist. It would have a different feel, it would have a completely different sensibility, um,
Yeah,
and what he brings to it is chaos. Beautiful,
yeah,
colorful, swirly maelstrom of chaos, um, it is beautiful. I use the word beautiful, and it is beautiful, it is beautiful art, but it is also sort of mind bending and you're not quite sure and you feel disorientated. I hope, I know I do feel disorientated after reading it because of the way he lays down color and the way he lays down his lines.
yeah. No, I 100% agree. And just found it. I just found very beautiful to look at. But yeah, disorientating is like a good way to put it. But like you never don't know what's going on. Like it's not a situation where it looks messy. It's all very intentional. And just really a beautiful looking book. With and I just love, like, that juxtaposition of, like, this beautiful, swirling, colorful artwork with just some of the wild creatures that populate Ill Vacation. So I wanted to ask you, though, in terms of some of the other stuff, like, you've worked on, like, in comics, how long have you been creating comics now, Steve?
So I've been self-publishing comics for quite a while. I mean, if you want to go way back, I was like 8 years old when I started building stuff out of Lego, building characters out of Lego, and then making and writing and drawing comics about those characters. So
Yeah.
I didn't really start doing it properly till I was about 16, and I was
Okay.
heavily influenced by stuff like, Vertigo comics were quite new then, and I was really heavily influenced by that because that was kind of after you've been reading US superhero stuff, that's kind of out there and everything. So I was trying to write and draw stuff like that. And it didn't really work. I think I got a strip published in a sort of fanzine type publication, and that was like my first proper thing being published anywhere, but it didn't really get seen anywhere. I can't even remember the name of it, unfortunately. Then I stopped for a few years and I was just a comic book reader, but I wasn't making anything. And then I went to a convention. I saw what people were doing. I thought, wow, okay, there's lots of people out there making fantastic stuff. I would like to have a go at that. I think this is really fun. So I started making comics. I started writing stuff, started drawing stuff. I'm not fast or good enough, I think, to do comics unless they're very short form. So I sort of looked on Twitter. I kind of said, "Martis, do you want to do this? I'll pay you money, give you a script, see what you think, and stuff like that, and
Right.
we can do it." And I made some comics, and I went to many conventions as I can. I just kept booking myself into conventions, and I went to the shows, and I sold lots of stuff, and I talked to people who came up to the store, and I loved that conversations. Those conversations I would have with people, like this is my work. This is what it's about. This is what this book is about. I had several different titles. They grew as it went on, and that's where I started really. And there wasn't any real what you call publishing. There was just a lot of me printing stuff myself and putting it out there and selling at cons.
Okay. And then, so were you? I mean, because you're located in the UK. So were you coming to America to do conventions as well, or was it mainly based where you're at?
I'm afraid I wasn't coming to America. I would love to have come to America. Just flights, accommodation, everything. It was going to be a big outlay if I did that.
Oh,
So I
sure.
did sort of all four corners of the UK as much as I
Okay.
could, a little bit of Europe, and that was kind of my circle of influence.
What is the UK kind of convention scene like? Do you think it's that different from what you might have seen online from the US?
It's, I'm guessing it's much smaller than the US. There's like a real oh, there's the dog.
There, yeah, Barry. For anyone watching this on YouTube, sorry, you can see that Barry has made an appearance behind me on the couch. Um, but yeah,
Hi,
there's
Barry.
Barry.
Love dogs. Love dog. Okay. So, yeah, so there's like a really tight-knit group of people who go to, like, a lot of shows every year, and all of their work is fantastic. Most of them are artists and writers. Um, I get to see them every time I go to a show. I get to say hi. There's people I've
Yeah.
made, like, serious friends with, it's been really good. We meet up. And then there's people that I see once every, like, 10 shows or so, but I still say hi, and we still say, "What have you been working on? What have you been doing?" So it feels small, but I don't think it is small. I think there are a lot of people doing it, but maybe I just keep running into the same people over and over. And those people all also happen to be really, really talented and have some great stuff and are being published as well now.
Yeah. Oh, that no, that's awesome. I've told this before on the podcast, but, in 2024, my brother and I went to Dublin Comic Con, and I mean, we loved it, we had a great time. It was packed. I mean, with cosplayers, with comic people, with nerds of all I say nerds affectionately, I consider myself one, but of nerds of all, you know, shapes, sizes, and backgrounds. It was awesome to see, a Comic-Con, like, a comic convention, in another country. Um,
Yeah,
and,
no, I do
yeah.
love that aspect of it as well. I do love the costume. I do love the people. They don't have, they're not buying comics there necessarily. You talk to them and, they don't have any like pockets or anything, but what they have is these fabulous creations that they're walking around in, and you want to say, "Yeah, can I
Yeah,
take a picture of that?" It's amazing.
yeah. So for listeners who check out Ill Vacation and love it like I did, um, like, what are some of the other things that you've worked on? Because I know you've crowdfunded comics before, whether or not it was on Kickstarter. Um, where do you think in terms of, like, the type of stories that you like to write and have worked on? Are they similar to Ill Vacation? Like, what are some of the things that you're like, oh, if you liked Ill Vacation, you need to check out this. This is what Steve Thompson comics are all about.
Yeah. Well, if you're at the convention, I'm at a convention, you'll see some of my books. And I think if you like Ill Vacation, you'll find some stuff that's along the same kind of lines, and you'll find some stuff that's completely different. There's a book that always sells really well that I love making called "Don't Let Your Dead Ones Die," and it's about a woman who wakes up one morning. She's a zombie, and she's trying to find out how she became a zombie. She doesn't really know what happened. She's like trying to talk to people, but she's a zombie, so she's not really getting anywhere. And as we roll on, the twists and turns kind of pile up to quite an absurd ending. So we start off with a very standard undead kind of thing, and then we end up somewhere wildly different, which I think is really fun. It's like a one-shot comic. Um,
Okay.
there's that, and then there's Hey Don't Go, which is one of the first ones I did with an artist who was a friend of Gonzalo, who introduced me to Gonzalo originally, which is about a pop band trapped in space. Um, recommend
Oh, I
that one
love
as well.
that.
That's a great
That
one to
I
check out.
mean, okay. That's a great concept. Um, well, I mean, you know, uh, with some of those things in mind, do you think you kind of tend towards something that is more in the um like absurdist realm, like taking a concept and kind of pushing it, to its limits rather than like a straight up kind of, superhero story or a straight up kind of horror story? Because like certainly in the hands of another writer, the idea of Ill Vacation becomes straight up like science fiction or straight
Yeah.
up horror story. And it doesn't seem like you're interested in doing that, which I appreciate. I think it makes for a much more interesting, thought-provoking kind of tale. Like, do you think that's kind of like what it is you're most interested in doing with comics? Kind of taking a more, straight up approach and then like seeing how far into the realm of either, absurdity or matching up with an artist like Gonzalo and like let's really push it to its limits with character creation
Yeah,
character design.
that is what I love to do. That is sort of modus operandi. Yes, I'd love to take something and push it to some absurd limits and really go there. But like with Ill Vacation, I wanted to ground it in realism as well. So I wanted to do some research into like this US base and make it like the one in the
Right.
comic look exactly like it. And I wanted to get the weapons and the radio equipment correct and stuff so
Yeah.
that it's not just silly, but there's also something underpinning it that's quite serious and real and everything. And I've tried to do that with all of the other stuff as well. So I do like to push it.
Nice.
Um, and I've worked with artists who have interpreted my descriptions in completely different ways to the ways Gonzalo would have done it. And that's fine because that's brilliant because then you work with somebody who's just taking it in a completely different direction from where you
Yeah.
even thought you were going. Um, and yeah, so that is
That
that is
is
something I love to do, but I don't want to do sort of absurdity for the sake of absurdity. I want to be a proper beginning and middle and end as well. I think that's important.
yeah. No, I agree. I think it works.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Far in the future and deep in space, humankind has been lost to the star. Quiet rumors circulate of righteous heroes willing to fight and save the enslaved and oppressed masses. Stories of beautiful, habit-clad saviors are giving hope to those crushed under the thumbs of tyrannical rulers and alien parasites. These are the stories of the Order of the NUN-YA.
Interesting. Interesting.
Now, if I can avoid all the NUN-YA knock-knock jokes in my head for a moment, this is a great new Kickstarter project from a few Yeti friends you should check out. With a story inspired by a 1937 Vatican photo, these weapon-wielding heroines strike me somewhere between warrior nun and 80s sci-fi adventures like Flash Gordon. Who doesn't like a nun running around with a collapsible battle axe? Halberd? Hey, it's Future Check, so I don't ask questions, and she's trashing robots in stylistic fashion, riding around like Marty McFly on a... Well, I can't tell you more, but if it piqued your interest to hear about it, head on over to the Order of the NUN-YA on Kickstarter so you don't miss it. I'll put a link in the show notes for you to make it easy.
Y'all, Jimmy, the Chaos Goblin strikes again. I should have known better than to mention I was working on my
DC Universe meets Ravenloft hybrid D&D campaign on social media. My bad. He goes and tags a bunch of comics creators we know, and now I have to get it in gear and whip this campaign into shape so we can start playing. Another friend chimes in, are you going to make maps? It's fair to say it's been a while since I put something together, so I guess? Question mark? It was then that I discovered ARKENFORGE. If you don't know who ARKENFORGE is, they have everything you need to make your TTRPG more fun and immersive, allowing you to build, play, and export animated maps, including in-person fog of war capability that lets your players interact with maps as the adventure unfolds while you, the DM, get the full picture. Now I'm set to easily build high-res animated maps, saving myself precious time and significantly adding nuance to our campaign. That's a win every day in my book. Check them out at arkenforge.com and use the discount code YETI5 to get $5 off. I'll drop a link in the show notes for you, and big thanks to ARKENFORGE for partnering with our show. I think I'm going to make Jimmy play a Goblin Warlock just to get even. Welcome back.
Yeah. So Steve, what is it that you do when you're not, making comics? What does Steve Thompson, do other
Okay.
than that?
Well, that's a good question. I have a regular day job, and when I'm not in that regular day job, I'm kind of writing stuff. I am writing a new book at the moment, which I'm hoping won't be self-published, but will be published um, with a working title. It's called The Flight of the Turtle, and I'm hoping it won't. This working title won't stick because I'm not sure that one works at all for this. But that one's set in like that's something I haven't done before. This one's set in a fantasy world, like a Dungeons and Dragons type of world, but
Oh, okay.
it's a bit disappearing bit by bit, and the reason why sections of it are disappearing like every couple of days will hopefully surprise and intrigue people. And the resolution of that will be something unexpected, I think, as well. It may be a lot less absurd, but it will have a not very linear, possibly approach to storytelling.
All right.
So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, no, I am a project manager in my day job.
Okay.
It is like a very, very sort of strict. We are producing sort of educational products,
Okay.
and we have to follow these rules, and we have to manage our risks and everything. And it is not absurd at all. Very serious.
I mean, I have a fairly serious, job as well, in terms of being a personal injury attorney. And, we sometimes have fun at the office, but a lot of times you're dealing with, cases where somebody who's come to you has been hurt. It's a very serious matter. They're trying to get compensated for the injuries they sustained. And, um, I find that the kind of the heavier the day, the more I have to deal with, like, the rules of the court, like, getting my, like, if I have to write a motion or a legal brief, like, having to stick to those rules, especially, like, the Delaware Supreme Court's very strict in terms of how they want things filed. Um, I find that the more that I wanna read something and escape into something that is, like, the total opposite, right? Um
Absolutely. Yeah.
do you find it's the same for you that, like, when you're dealing with either deadlines or you're dealing with, some like a very strict regimen of stuff that, when whether or not you're creating something yourself or whether or not it's you're reading, you want something that's as far away from, like, real life as possible?
Yeah. I'm in a senior position. There's a lot of responsibility. I don't want any of that when I turn off my work computer. I want to run far away from that. So I want to read something. I want to write something that is just creative and silly and out there. Absolutely. That's, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And that's a large part of I've done this, because I just have these ideas. I can be sitting in a meeting at work, and I just want to say for anyone listening, I do my job properly, but ideas pop into your head, and you can't wait to like get home and flesh them out and write them down and all of that.
Oh, yeah, I have, like, a notes app open on my phone and just real quick, "Oh, an idea popped into my head," you know? Takes
Yeah.
less than 10 seconds, but something you wanna try and, get back to, later.
Yeah. No,
Absolutely.
I use the Notes app on my iPhone If somebody to read my list of ideas that I write down, most of them have never been developed at all. But if somebody were to read it, they go, "What is this? What is?"
Yeah, every once in a while, I read back through mine, and I'm just like, "I really wish I knew what I was thinking when when I wrote this sentence. This it doesn't make any sense right now." But, I hopefully things that I will return to, and I often do. So, it's all very, very helpful. Um, so what has your experience been like so far working with, comixology originals? Like, because you've done stuff, published it on your own, taken it to a convention, you've crowdfunded things. Like, what has it been like working, having a publisher behind you? Is it much different than what you thought it would be like?
Yeah, it's very different. When you're self-publishing, you're the marketing person as well. In fact, a massive part of it is marketing, and
Sure.
then suddenly you're with a big publisher. And comixology, they wanted to do this like new tranche of originals. They wanted to have established talent. They wanted to have new talent. They wanted to get a load of stuff out there that people might not have expected to see from them. So they've been great. And what they've done is they've done the marketing work. They've taken it out of my hands, which is like completely original for me. That's fantastic. They've been great in that they said, we read this, we like it. I said, okay, what do you want to change? They said, we don't want to change anything. I said, surely you want to change the title as we discussed before? No, we don't want to change
Yeah.
the title. Okay, we'll go with that then. And they've given me and Gonzalo, as much support as we need. If we've had questions, they've answered them right away. Um,
Right.
so it's been utterly, completely different to sort of self-publishing model. I mean, I worked on an anthology for Image Comics. I don't know if you come across 24 Panels, which was a charity
Yeah.
anthology, and I was editing that. So I got to work with a sort of mainstream publisher there. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is another level because they're taking something that's completely your work and they're sort of supporting you through it, and it's been absolutely fantastic.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's fantastic to hear. Yeah. Um, yeah, I like a lot of the stuff that Comixology Originals, has been doing and the stuff they put out. It's just I don't know, that's what gets me excited. Like I want to see something I haven't seen before. I mean, I read big two stuff, well, mainly DC Comics more so than Marvel. I read a ton of indie stuff and, the guests that we have on here and it's everything from folks that are working with a publisher to, folks that are crowdfunding. But I'm just always excited by, you know, seeing things that I feel like I haven't like quite seen before. I like big swings, even if they don't always work, right? They're not all going to work, but I love taking chances. I love seeing how far you can push things. I love seeing like new, you know, weird ideas. And something like Ill Vacation, um, it like I just think with other writers, other artists, it could be something completely different. But I feel like nobody would make what you and Gonzalo and Hassan have made, and that's what I just think is really special about it. Um,
I agree. I agree. I wrote something that I would want to read, and then had to hope that other people would want to read it as well. Um, it is a big swing, yeah, and that's why it's fantastic that they've sort of taken a chance on us and adopted it.
yeah. And I really like how, it bounces around a little bit. It's not just the 2 main characters. It's not just Bob and,
Mary,
yeah, Mary. It's not just Bob and Mary. There are 2, like, prisoners of war that come into play. There's another kind of more, mysterious character whose clothing appears to be modeled after, the Shadow from the
yes,
1930s radio play,
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
um, which I thought was great. Um, I also really like the scene where at one point there are like other soldiers that are sent out and they're kind of getting like debriefed on the mission. I thought all those little like vignettes with them were really funny.
I know the one
Like
you mean, yeah, yeah.
yeah, just I just very very like comically funny. You know, some of it gave me a sense like made me want to go watch Doctor Strangelove or, that kind of like that it gave me that kind of feel to it, which is one of my favorite movies, about war. So yeah, I just thought it was very well done. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Was there anything that without, giving away too much, I don't want you to, spoil anything, but anything in particular that you were really like excited or proud that that the scene worked the way you really wanted it to, like your writing matched up with Gonzalo's art that you thought, wow, that's a moment that I didn't know it would work, but it really came out the way I wanted it to.
Yeah, chapter 3, um, is one that I had in my head from the start, and it's when it starts, it's wildly different to what's happened before, but it all
Sure.
makes sense because it ties straight back into the story, but when you're not
Yeah.
quite sure where you are when where it starts. And the first thing that we did for it was I got Gonzalo to create a cover, and the cover for, like, it's not a cover 'cause it's a graphic novel, but the chapter picture image is fantastic. Gonzalo's colors, his choice of layout, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And we go into that
Yeah.
with a debriefing, I think the same one you were talking about,
Yeah.
and some of this sort of they're trying to talk very seriously to this group of agents in this protective hazmat gear who are, like, gonna go into the maelstrom, and then they go in, and what happens to them is not what they expect. It's probably not what the audience expects as well, without giving anything away. And writing that and then getting the pages back from that, yeah, absolutely fantastic. That was really,
Okay.
really fun, really fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. No, as I mentioned, when I brought it up, I really, really enjoyed all of that. Um, so yeah, that's kind of cool to hear. I always think like, as a writer, when you're making anything, you're proud of all of it. Like the act of or the of creating art, creating, anything is amazing, right? To take that
Absolutely.
leap from fan to actually doing it, to putting, something out there in the world. You know, uh, but I'm always curious, like, well, but wasn't there like was there that one thing? Was there something? It's like I did not think this would work on the page. So that's kind of cool to hear, especially because I really enjoyed that section as well. To think that that was something that really came out the way you had wanted it to, I think is great. So yeah, well, Steve, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I look forward to fans and readers, listeners checking out Ill Vacation when it's out. By the time you listen to this podcast, Ill Vacation will be out, so you can pick it up from Comixology Originals. And
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing more about Flight of the Turtle or whatever it is eventually called.
It'll
Because
probably be called that. It'll probably be called that.
Probably. But, yeah, Steve, is there anything else, like, you want, uh, listeners to check out other than Ill Vacation? You have anything else you wanna point them towards?
Well, check out your vacation because, you will love Gonzalo's art. If anything else, you will absolutely love the way it looks. It doesn't look like anything else out there. It really
True.
doesn't, so please do check that out. Um, and also, actually, I mentioned 24 panels. Please do check that out because that was an anthology for the survivors of the Grenfell disaster in London, which was a tower block fire in London. So please do check that out as well. And if you're at a convention, come to my table and have a look at some more of my books because I do have a wide selection of stuff. And I will talk you through it quite happily. Probably until you're really bored of hearing about it, but I will talk you through it if you come and see me at convention.
Yeah, yeah, go up, talk to Steve. I've read some of Steve's other work, especially when some of the things that he had come out when he was, hanging out in the Yeti cave with the rest of us at Comic Book Yeti. And it's I really like your work, Steve. I'm really excited for Ill Vacation. I really enjoyed it very much, and I appreciate the chance to like, you know, it's um it's always great with like folks that you like interacted with, online, but to actually have a conversation about the stuff that we're both passionate about, which is comic
Yeah.
books, and that it's not just covering other folks' stuff, which I love. Don't get me wrong, but to see people that are passionate about comics, making their own and doing it really, really well, is always very exciting for me. So I'm very excited for your vacation, and thank you very much for chatting with me this morning or this
Thank you,
afternoon for
Jimmy.
you, I guess.
Yeah. No, thank you, Jimmy. That was great. Thank you very much.
Yep. So listeners, we're going to check out Ill Vacation. There'll be a link in the show notes. It's like 114 pages. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think you're going to like it too. Gonzalo's art. Hassan, one of the best letterers in the business. So it's a fantastic creative team. Yeah, so check it out. Also shout out to my brother Bobby. I shout out Bobby every episode. He's the Cryptid Creator Corner's #1 most dedicated fan, listens to all my episodes. And yeah, and as we record this, it's Father's Day. So happy Father's Day,
Yes.
Bob. Bobby's got 4 kids. He's a
Oh,
crazy person.
happy Father's Day, Bob.
So yeah, thank you very much. Let me know what it is you're reading. And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.
This is Byron O'Neill, one of your hosts of the Cryptid Creator Corner, brought to you by Comic Book Yeti. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of our podcast. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. It lets us know how we're doing, and more importantly, how we can improve. Thanks for listening.